Welcome to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. These guys are brave. They're Hawkeyes living in enemy territory. Listen, these guys are way past their prime, but they're still Hawkeyes. They're spreading the Hawkeye hype to all of Nebraska. The frost advisory is canceled. Corn huskers, more like corn suckers. Are you ready for this podcast? Let's go Hawks!
All right, welcome back to the Nebraska Hawk's Nest. Make sure to take time to hit the like and subscribe button, even the notification bell, so you can always be notified of all of our Hawkeye Legend interviews. And let's be honest, we want the number one podcast in all of Nebraska to be Hawkeye related, because that would be pretty awesome. So today we are joined by former Iowa Hawkeye basketball guard Kevin Skillet. How's it going, man?
It's going great. It's going great, Adam. Thanks a lot for having me on.
I got to tell you, I mentioned this quickly before we came on. As a kid, I was born in the early 80s, and then growing up, you run into certain guys that you idolized as a kid. I used to always go to the Iowa basketball camp and was just a diehard Hawkeye fan. I remember, as a young kid, if, Iowa basketball would lose, I'd cry and punch the wall and be pissed off and really, really upset. So it's pretty exciting to be able to talk to, one of my childhood idols. And why don't we take a minute and catch everybody up on what you're up to right now, where you're living, and how your family's doing.
Yeah. I would cry and punch the wall when we lost too. So you weren't the only one.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel a little better then.
Actually, I live in the Quad Cities. I'm over here in Davenport, Iowa. I work at Bettendorf High School. I went to Bettendorf right after when I graduated from Iowa. I actually went to St. Ambrose University for 2 years because I wanted to get into education, teaching and coaching. So when I was at Iowa, I couldn't do that because we practiced every day from 1 till 4. So I could never do a student teaching a placement. So because it lapped over semesters, both fall and spring semesters, of course, the season. So I got a different degree in health from Iowa. And then I went back, got my teaching certification from St. Ambrose, and I did some coaching there. I was a grad assistant coach at St. Ambrose, actually in the women's program, which the coach at the time was Robin Pinchton, who's now the head coach at Missouri for women's basketball and has been very successful. She went from Drake and Illinois State and then Missouri. So did that. And then I got right into Bettendorf in 1997, and I started teaching there in 1997. And since then I coached football, tennis. I coached girls basketball for 3 years, and I coached boys basketball for 12. And then had some really successful teams. I was fortunate enough, we won a state championship in basketball in 2005 in the Iowa Class 4A state championship, which was pretty awesome, and had some other state tournament appearances, and won a tennis state championship back in 2004. I didn't know a lot about the specifics of tennis, I got to admit to that, but I taught them how to compete and condition them well and those kind of things. So since then, I've done a lot. Like I said, I was a teacher. I was a dean of students. I was the athletic director for 5 years. I decided to get into administration, and now I've been an associate principal for 4 years, which is where we are. Like I said, I live in Davenport, and I got a daughter that just graduated high school this year. So she's moving on to the next step, and I couldn't be more blessed for all the great things that have happened to me since I left Iowa.
That's great. Where's your daughter going to be going to college?
she's going to St. Ambrose.
All
So
right.
she's going to stay local here and go to St. Ambrose. And she's, I think, growing up with an educator in the house, it influenced her a little bit. She's going to be a music teacher.
Right.
So she's really gifted in fine arts and music. So she's going to pursue her passion in that. So really proud of her. She's a super young person, and she's got great things ahead.
St. Ambrose is such a nice campus. I've driven by it multiple times, and it is absolutely beautiful. I lived in Davenport for a few years back. I want to say it's like 08, 09 time, and I was blown away by how nice it was. But I was so focused on trying to avoid the Whitey's ice cream everywhere I went that I'm like, I've lived all over the Midwest, and I'm like, that stuff's the best, and I just need to steer clear of it, whatever I do.
It is. Yep. Guilty as well. Yeah. St. Ambrose has really done some great things. They've made a real commitment to their facilities. I mean, they built a fabulous rec center. The housing, they built new student housing with the footprint of land that they have. They're maximizing it. It's really a great university here in the Quad Cities for us.
Yeah, and it's one that not enough people know about. It's a little hidden gem over there, and very, very cool place. Very successful athletic programs, academics, and they really do have a lot to offer. One thing I really wanted to cover too was that I don't know that a lot of Iowa fans know that you kind of went back to back at Iowa with your brother coming in and playing football there as a kicker. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unique. Actually, my brother and I were talking not that long ago, and we can't really think or remember. There probably may have been, but somebody that had a brother that played scholarship basketball and then one that was a scholarship football player. And so I don't know if that's happened before, but nonetheless, it was a great experience. My brother Jeff was at Iowa from 1987 to 1991. He was on the 91 Rose Bowl team with Matt Rogers as the quarterback. They were really good. I think they lost to Washington that year in the Rose Bowl. I think they had Mark Brunell and obviously other good players. But yeah, he had a great experience. He grew up. It's kind of interesting because when he was, gosh, I think it was 10 years old, he won the national punt, pass, and kick championship. Okay, so I don't know if you've heard of that before, but some people certainly have, and it was really something back then. I don't know how much traction it has now, but he traveled all over to these different NFL games and kept qualifying. Then all of a sudden he's at the Super Bowl, kicking at halftime of the Super Bowl. And when he's 10 years old, and it was really, really awesome. And he won, which was great. So I think that kind of led to his career as a place kicker. He was a multiple sport athlete all the way through high school, football, basketball, baseball, just like I was. He was recruited to play baseball, to be a quarterback at a mid-major level, but Hayden Fry came along, and that pretty much was it. Once he in our family met Hayden Fry, because we grew up in East Moline, actually Silvis, Illinois. So we went to United Township High School in East Moline. So we were huge Illini fans, just growing up, because that's what everybody was over there, right?
All right.
And then as soon as my brother committed to Iowa and to play for Hayden Fry, it switched to black and gold instantly. And it's been that way ever since, of course, back since 1987. And he just had a great experience, a great career there. And then I followed right after him to Iowa. Yep.
So I don't think too many people can say no to a charismatic individual like Coach Fry was. I'm really curious to know a little bit about what your recruiting process was like. Back then, recruiting wasn't watched as closely as it is now. And, there wasn't social media and things weren't all over the place in your face like they are now. What was it like being recruited by Dr. Tom? What kind of personality was he to deal with as a recruiter, and what other schools were really after you?
So actually it's a pretty unique story. When I came out of high school, I was a 3-sport athlete in high school as well. I was very successful in all 3 sports, and I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do when I came out of high school, because I was not very heavily recruited coming out of high school. I had smaller school interest, some Division II school interest, and what I actually decided to do was my freshman year got pretty late in the summer. I actually went to Augustana College for 1 year over in Rock Island, and I played at Augustana for 1 year and had a really great year. We had a brand new coach that year, and it was a great experience. I was really coming into my own as a basketball player. That was really the year that really propelled me as a player. And after that season, my brother Jeff was still at Iowa. He just finished his career, and interesting story is we talked and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And I said, I want to go to the University of Iowa and give this thing a shot. So he went in and met with Dr. Tom and kind of explained my story and said, "My brother, he wants to come up. Will you give him a shot if he comes?" And, Dr. Tom said, "Absolutely. Let's do it." So I guess now it would be considered like a preferred walk-on, I think is how they rate them now. So I went up there for 1 year, and I was a walk-on my first year. And after that season, some different things really just fell into place for me as far as the recruit, some players coming in, some players that left, and opened up some scholarship opportunities. And I'm just very grateful for Coach Davis and the staff at the time to have the confidence to offer me a scholarship for my final 3 years at the University of Iowa. But that redshirt year, because I redshirted while I was walking on, and there were some great guys there, right? It was, Troy Skinner, Wade Lookingbill, AC Earl. I mean, those guys were really good mentors to me and really pushed me and had confidence in me and treated me with respect. And it really helped, again, with my 1 year at Augie, then my year as a walk-on, helped, prepare me to play Division I basketball at the University of Iowa, which was awesome.
For those people that don't know, when you're jumping from a Division II level, because I mean, Division II is nothing to laugh at. I mean, that is legitimate high level basketball competition. I've seen it firsthand. Those guys can play. What was the talent level difference? How much of an adjustment was it jumping from an Augustana to University of Iowa?
Yeah, and actually, the Augustana in Rock Island is a D3 school.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I forgot because there's Augustana in South Dakota. There's a lot of Augustanas.
Correct. Yep. And the one in South Dakota is a Division II. So this was in it's called the CCIW conference. It's got a lot of Chicago area schools, North Park, some of those schools. And I tell you, and here's what's I think important for people to know. And, hopefully there's young people out there listening, or parents and such, is that playing college basketball at any level it's a privilege to do that, right? Because there are really good players at the Division III level. And that was certainly the case when I was there. I think the real difference is probably size and athleticism. As when you jump from D3 to D1, everybody's just about 4 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier. But as far as guys really knowing how to play and understand the game and the physicality, I think that really helped me also, because as we know, the Big Ten is arguably the most physical conference in the country, and especially when I was playing. And so I think the physical nature of Division III basketball really helped prepare me. And I think also, Adam, I think that my being a multi-sport athlete really helped me as well. I think playing football, I was a quarterback on our football team at East Moline in a big school. And so I think that just that toughness that comes along with being a multi-sport athlete really helped me, when I got into college. And then really, because I didn't have an opportunity to focus a lot on one sport, and I'm thankful for that, because I know, and that might be a topic for another day, but I know that's right now there's such a specialization feel in high school athletics. And I did not do that when I was in high school. I really I played football in the fall, basketball in the winter, and baseball in the spring. And in the summer, I tried to work on my game, but we really didn't have AAU, right? It was like, I never played on a traveling team or anything like that. Like nowadays, the AAU is such a big organization. And so, where I played down in the park in downtown East Moline is where I learned how to play. And I was playing with guys that taught me a lot, let me tell you. And so I think that and playing in that physical conference and at the D3 level, and then that year as a walk-on really, really helped me, because there is a big difference, right? There's a difference.
Yeah.
But I just think it's important for people to know there is really, really good basketball, and there's no shame in going and playing at a D3 school, because I know everybody wants that D1 scholarship, right? It's like, it's that carrot that gets hung out there for parents and players at young age, and hey, focus on this, we'll get you a scholarship, that kind of thing. And that, it's a very small percent that gets a Division I basketball scholarship out of, with young people coming out of the state of Iowa. And so I think as long as they can go somewhere and play and have a great college experience at any level, I think that's important.
You really hit it on the head with the major difference is size and athleticism, because I had a partial scholarship to play NAIA basketball, but I ended up just going as a regular student to a Division II school, and I helped out as the student manager. So occasionally I would help out and practice with them a little bit. And good night, the jump in freaking competition was enormous. There was guys that could do just what I could do, but they could do it faster, and they were also about 6 inches taller than me. So it was very eye-opening that I knew at that time. I'm like, I definitely do not have what it takes to play Division II athletics. I was an NAIA guy through and through, and that was okay. Well, that was okay with me. I had a good time tearing it up on rec ball and doing all that kind of stuff back in the day. So that was a lot of fun. Speaking of the competition, though, when you were on the court in a game or even in practice, who are like one or two of those guys that you look back on that you were maybe a little starstruck, that you were like, God, I can't believe I'm playing against this guy right now. Like this is unbelievable, that you're like kind of pinching yourself a little bit?
Yeah, it's probably a long list, because I had the opportunity to play against a lot of players, really great players, NBA players, of course. I think one that comes to mind is the Fab Five, right? That was right in the middle of my career. So several matchups with Jalen Rose, Chris Howard, all of those guys, Jimmy King. It was interesting. One time we're like scrumming down it's like a loose ball right underneath the Michigan basket. And I'm down there fighting for it. And because that's what I did, right? I'm always trying to get in the mix and dive on the floor and cause havoc. And I can't remember if it was James Winters or Jim Bartles, or I can't remember who all was there, but all of a sudden Chris Webber, like, he's right there and he bends over and he grabs the ball, and with one hand he just takes it up and does a reverse dunk and for the basket, for the score. And I kind of looked over and I went, holy crap. And just that level of athleticism was absolutely incredible. Another quick story, against Michigan, it was real early in the game, and we had I got out in front and had a breakaway, and of course it was Coach Davis and the pump fake and power, right? So the famous shot fake. I was really glad I had it at that point, but I shot faked and Jimmy King was trailing me, coming behind, and he jumped over my whole body. He just completely jumped over me, and I didn't even duck, right? He just jumped right over, and then I went up and scored. And it was the top play on ESPN at way back at the time, of course. And so I think that was Glenn Robinson. I had a chance to—
The big dog.
The big dog. I matched up with him a few times. I've still got a picture from back then where I was going. I try to harass some of my brother and some of those guys and tell them that, because I'm going up and scoring, shooting a shot, kind of a runner off the 8 to 10 feet out, and Glenn Robinson's just kind of looking up at me and like, whoa, look at that guy. He wasn't thinking that, but I still captioned that just for fun. But a lot of great players. I think on our own team, I had the opportunity there. We had some really terrific players, and I had very fortunate. I mentioned a couple of them at the beginning of the show, and a couple of the older guys when I was there. But then it was, everybody from James Winters. That guy was the most athletic guy I've ever been around. Skywalker. Oh gosh, he would do things in practice that it was just jaw dropping, right? And
Yeah.
nicest guy, great teammate, just an amazing. I still keep in touch with him today. He's awesome. And
You got to set us up. We got to set us up with him because we've been trying to find him to get him on because we're huge fans of the Skywalker.
Oh man, he's awesome. Yeah,
He
he's a great guy. He's doing really well. I think he's lives out in Colorado now, and so I had a chance to speak to him not too long ago. Actually, we went on we had a Zoom call. You know, we learned a lot over this pandemic, right? How to use like Zoom and connect with people. And so Jim Bartles and Jess Settles and James Winters and we just one night all got on Zoom together and started telling some old stories. This was a few months ago. So really good. You know, who else was super athletic was Russ Millard. Yeah. Russ was real sneaky athletic, but boy, when he turned it on and he got going, I mean, he would dunk over anyone. I mean, he was so powerful and so strong, but just amazing. And then of course, you know, one that everybody, the old Nebraska, Chris Kingsbury. Yeah. Chris he's a great teammate. And that guy he was truly a freak of nature. I mean, he truly was. He would come to practice and, you know, sometimes like a guy like myself, I'd be there a half hour early, right? I'm stretching, I'm getting loose and I'm trying to get myself as ready to go as possible. And Kingsbury comes in, you know, a few minutes before practice starts and he comes out there and he wins every wind sprint. He won every time we had to run wind sprints. He would win. You know, he played his butt off the entire practice, and he just a phenomenal player and athlete and a great person. So very fortunate to have played with those guys like that. And I'm missing some too. I know you had Andre Woolridge on. I saw you had him on, and he was also a guy that was an incredible talent. You know, he was, as far as a true point guard, you know, is to be able to score, assist the ball, you know, do those kind of things, and just a really super person. I mean, just a really good guy. Because we spent a lot of time together, right? All of us as teammates, we're traveling a lot. We're on the planes, we're in hotel rooms, and there's downtime. And of course, we were doing our homework most of the time. Right.
Yeah, of course.
Right. But just having a chance to interact and have the memories, because that's really when we get together, we talk a lot about those times, right? About times and when we traveled overseas or when we, you know, in the hotel rooms, and, you know, we'll tell a few stories about some big games and big moments, but it's those relationships that really matter the most.
Your relationship with Chris Street when you were at Iowa, can you tell us a little bit about that? What kind of person he was, and just how difficult that was for everybody to go through that loss? I've never really talked publicly a lot about this, but because it's been difficult, it really has, and you know, I'm happy to share some comments, of course. But he was an incredible person. You know, stepping completely away from basketball. We all know what kind of a basketball player he was, but he was an extremely genuine, friendly, respectful, fun. I mean, great sense of humor. I mean, just if you look at kind of what a terrific, great person. I mean, he was that for his age, right? We're all developing and learning how to figure life out and those kind of things, but he really had it figured out. And so absolutely great. My locker was right next to his. He treated me with respect right from the first day I walked onto campus, and helped, you know, be a good mentor. You know, we graduated the same year, you know, but I took the different path, of course. So when I got there, he knew the way, the ropes. He showed them to me, and just a super person. And that was a life-changing event for all of us, right? Because we didn't know how to process that very well. And, you know, when you're 18, 19 years old and 20 years old, and you're trying to sort through something so tragic. And so it was tough. You know, I can't say enough about the Street family, Mike and Patty. And I think you had Mike on. I saw you had Mike on, and I listened to that. And they have been such amazing they've been such amazing a part of the University of Iowa and the Iowa basketball program, and their connectedness, and just to continue to keep that spirit alive really means a lot to all of us.
and just can't appreciate that family enough. And the University of Iowa, they really did a tremendous job at the time of the tragic loss of Chris, to support us, as his teammates and the coaching staff and all the adults. They poured a lot of resources in to help us navigate through this. We had to still play a basketball season, right?
Yeah.
None of us wanted to do that, and so we really didn't know how to move forward with where we were. But through the University of Iowa, our coaching staff, the staff within the athletic department, and most important, the street family really helped us get through that.
And that's what I told Mike too, that as a Hawkeye fan, it's just so great. It fills your heart up to see him and Patty on the sidelines for all the games and everything they go to, because you feel like you still got a piece of Chris there. And that's phenomenal. What was it like that first game coming back after the loss of Chris? All of the emotions running high, had a really big game to get ready for. Tell us what it was like in the locker room and how you guys were feeling.
I think we were, there was a certain level of, obviously, of anxiety and anticipation for what that would feel like, to run out there and start playing. And it was, but I think that looking back, even though when this all happened, we didn't know how to move forward, and we didn't want to play without him. Right.
Yeah.
But we did. And I think that by getting out there on that floor was probably, the best thing that could have happened to us is to get back out there and again with the family. And it was just an amazing atmosphere. But so I think as we were in the locker room, as I recall the best that I can, there was some anxiousness. It wasn't a lot of jumping around, a lot of let's go out there. And obviously everybody knew that whole, we played for Chris, right? Every second on the floor, and with his spirit and intensity and determination and passion, that's really what we talked. That's what we wanted to do is to play like Chris would play. And that's certainly what we did to the best of our abilities.
I don't think I've ever cried like that during a basketball game in my life. It was like the way you guys played was so inspired, and it was just, it was beautiful. And so, as a Hawkeye fan, just want to, not only thank you for your career, but man, that performance after all of, the Iowa fans, the family of Chris and the teammates, the university, his friends, everyone having to go through that horrible loss, for you guys to come out and play like you did, the inspired basketball that you played was just such an uplifting moment and brought so many people in the state of Iowa together. I don't think as a college student, you probably knew the ramifications of your guys' performance that night.
I'm sure we didn't. But you put it very well. I think all those things are exactly true. And I think that there was a lot of emotion after that game from everybody, and back in that locker room, and it's hard to even describe it in words. What that was. It gives me goosebumps even now just thinking about it, and to have a loss of that magnitude, not because, and again, I want to go back, but not because of the amazing basketball player he was. Obviously, he's a first-round draft pick. He's a lottery pick in the NBA, right? He's that good. We all knew that, right? He's that good, but the person that we lost, the friend, the teammate, and of course, the severe loss of his family and his friends he grew up with, and those kind of things. It was a really tough time in our lives, but all of you, right? Like all of the fans and the support and the media, everybody just was incredibly just mindful and respectful and just appreciated that we were going to move forward and move on and do the best we could. And just, there was never a negative word that whole rest of that season, right? We all did the best we could. And we all wonder, what a season could have been like, and, had that not happened. But it's hard to even think about the basketball part, because the person and the friend and, teammates, that son, nephew, all those things are much greater than the basketball part.
Yeah, well said. Well said. He'll never be forgotten. That's for sure. Really, on a lighter note, playing for Coach Tom Davis. Okay, want to really know what he was like as a person. Do you got any, great stories from practice, from the locker room of with you and the guys, or with Coach Davis, playing for him over all those years? Because, as of now, back then we weren't connected to the team and the coaches like they are now with, like we said before, social media and TV and everything like that. Like I said, I went to the Iowa basketball camp every single year as a kid because, you guys were growing up as a kid in Iowa. You were my rock stars. I looked up to all the guys on the basketball team, and Dr. Tom, like the lead singer, and he was running the show. What was it like playing for Dr. Tom? And, any great stories from him or some other guys in practice that the average fan like myself wouldn't know about?
Well, I think that when you talk about Coach Davis, I think that obviously the state of Iowa and all the Hawkeye fans appreciated, all of his years at the University of Iowa and all the wins and the success and things of that nature. He was remarkably calm. He was a great teacher of the game, right? It was that John Wooden philosophy, I think, that he took and brought and molded into his own. And so there'd be times when, we'd come in the locker room and, we're getting our butts kicked, right? It's halftime and we're not playing very well. And we're just not playing with the kind of energy we needed and doing the things that we know we need to do. And there were times where I'm sitting there and I'm like, I hope Coach Davis comes in and chews our butt, right? And really gets after us. But he wouldn't do that. He would come in and teach, and he would come in and say, okay, here's what we have to do. And he would never raise his voice. Very rarely did he ever raise his voice. Very rarely. And but when he did, you knew it.
Yeah.
That's one thing I learned about coaching that I took with me, is that if you yell all the time, right, then it doesn't mean as much. But when you don't, and then you really get after it, then it's really impactful. But he was a great teacher of the game. As far as specific, locker room this or locker room that. It was just more. He had a great sense of humor. He really liked to crack little jokes and little innuendos and things like that. And sometimes we would look at each other as teammates and go, what did that mean? kind of thing. But he was just a really good person to be around, extremely intelligent basketball coach. I appreciate the opportunities he provided for me, because that's not easy sometimes as a coach, right? To be able to have a walk-on, essentially a walk-on, come and then put him on a scholarship. And I wasn't the only one. There was walk-ons, after me that became scholarship and contributing players. You look at Daryl Moore and Jason Bauer and Nate Cook. And those are just to name a few. There's probably others, but that walk-on model that Dr. Tom implemented, and the Gray Team is what it was called back then. We had some really good players that played on that team. Two of them that come to mind. One of them, Jason Shea, who was from Galesburg and a great walk-on player, and it was recently in Division I coaching and is now, I think he's going to be at Wake Forest, I believe. But him, it just and there was a lot of, the Great Team really had a big impact, right? Because Coach Davis would have this team scout. They're the scout team. They're running Michigan State stuff. They're running Purdue stuff. And they're really good players, right? One was John Fritzl from West Des Moines Dowling, and that came really good player. And they so having that, I think Coach Davis, again, not to get too far off topic here, but Coach really gave a lot of great opportunities for players, taught us how to play the game the right way. His coaching staff was really strong. We had, Coach Walker and Coach Close and Coach DeLeo and, Coach Moss. And, those were some of the assistant coaches. And I think it was just a real well-oiled operation. That Coach Davis would put together, but he cared about his players and in our overall success.
Well, that's great. And Kevin, just want to thank you very, very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. As an educator, you're one, like you said before we came on, you're one of the educators. You're working 12 months out of the year, so you don't get that awesome summer break that the teachers get. You're still plugging away right now, working hard.
Yeah, yep. I'm still plugging away. I use a lot of my vacation days in the summer, the ones that I get. It's hard to take off during the school year, but I just really appreciate having the opportunity on and have a conversation and talk about some of the times at the University of Iowa. And I appreciate what you're doing with with your podcast and all the social media and the things just to promote the University of Iowa athletics. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for your support, man. I saw you came on and liked a few things. I'm like, Kevin Skillet's on here. It's freaking awesome. So,
that's right, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, thank you for everything you did as a Hawkeye. And again, we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come on and talk Hawks with us.
My pleasure. Let me know. I'll try to get James Winters or some other guys if you want to get some other old time basketball guys on there. I'll put a plug in for you.
Oh, we would love it, man. Those guys are that's a legendary team right there.
They're awesome.
It's awesome. All right. Thanks, Kevin. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks, man.